Right now, somewhere on Earth, millions of people are kissing. A couple says goodbye before work. Parents kiss their children goodnight. Friends greet each other with a quick touch on the cheek. A newly married couple shares their very first kiss. For most of us, it's one of the most natural things in the world. So natural, that we rarely stop to ask a simple question. Why? Why do humans kiss at all? Think about what's actually happening. Two people voluntarily move their faces incredibly close together. They close their eyes. Their breathing changes. Their heart rate increases. And for a few seconds, the outside world almost disappears. It's intimate, emotional, sometimes romantic, sometimes comforting, sometimes completely cultural. But here's the strange part, scientists still don't know exactly why humans started doing it. Not just how. Not just when. Why? And that mystery has divided anthropologists, psychologists, and neuroscientists for decades. Some believe kissing is millions of years old. Others argue it's surprisingly recent. Some cultures celebrate it, while others have lived for centuries without romantic kissing at all. Which raises a fascinating possibility. What if kissing isn't something humans were born doing? What if it was invented? If you wanted to discover the first kiss, where would you look? A cave? An ancient skeleton? A fossil? Unfortunately, kisses leave no fossils. No footprints. No bones. A kiss lasts only a few seconds, then disappears forever. That makes it one of the hardest human behaviors to trace. Instead, researchers have to search for something else, evidence hidden inside ancient writing. For many years, historians believe the earliest written description of kissing came from ancient India. Sacred Sanskrit texts, written more than 3,000 years ago, describe lovers pressing their mouths together in ways that sound remarkably familiar today. Because of those texts, many assumed kissing began there. But recent archaeological research changed everything. Clay tablets from ancient Mesopotamia, dating back roughly 4,500 years, contain references suggesting romantic kissing was already well known. That means kissing wasn't invented by just one civilization. It may have existed across multiple cultures at nearly the same time. And if that's true, then the habit could be much older than writing itself. Ancient Mesopotamia wasn't just the birthplace of cities. It was one of humanity's first great civilizations. People built temples, created laws, developed mathematics, and invented writing. And among those records were poems, love songs, marriage contracts, and, surprisingly, references to kissing. Not as something unusual, but as something people already understood. That detail matters. When a behavior appears naturally in written language, it usually means it existed long before anyone decided to write it down. Writing doesn't create traditions. It records them, which pushes the true origin of kissing further back into prehistory. But here's where the mystery deepens. If kissing was already common 4,500 years ago, why don't we find evidence everywhere? The answer is simple: history survives unevenly. Most ancient cultures left nothing behind. Wood rotted, cloth disappeared, oral traditions vanished. Entire civilizations were erased by time. It's entirely possible that millions of kisses happened long before the first sentence about one was ever written. Then, anthropologists noticed something unexpected. Not every culture kisses romantically. Even today, some hunter-gatherer societies show little or no tradition of mouth-to-mouth kissing between romantic partners. Instead, affection is expressed through touch, shared meals, gentle grooming, or simply sitting close together. That discovery shocked scientists. If kissing were a purely biological instinct, wouldn't every human culture do it? The answer appears to be no. And that changes everything, because it suggests that while humans may have the biological capacity to enjoy kissing, the behavior itself can also be shaped by culture. So, did evolution create kissing, or did civilization? To answer that, we have to go back much further than the first cities, further than writing, further than history itself. Back to a time when humans weren't yet building civilizations, but were already building relationships. And somewhere in those relationships, the first true kiss may have quietly changed human history forever. Long before there were kingdoms, long before there were wedding ceremonies, or even words like love and romance, there were only small groups of humans trying to survive. Every day brought new dangers, predators, disease, starvation. In a world like that, survival wasn't just about being strong. It was about staying connected. Humans who formed close social bonds were more likely to share food, protect one another, and raise children successfully. Over many generations, natural selection favored behaviors that strengthened those bonds. This leads to an important question. If kissing plays a role in bonding today, could it have started as something much simpler? One idea comes from observing how parents care for infants. In many ancient societies, before modern tools for feeding babies existed, caregivers sometimes softened food in their own mouths before passing it to a child. This behavior, known as premastication, has been documented in many cultures around the world. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't symbolic. It was practical. Some researchers have suggested that repeated face-to-face contact during caregiving may have made close mouth contact feel familiar and emotionally meaningful over time. It's an interesting hypothesis, but it's only one possibility. There is no direct evidence showing that romantic kissing evolved from this behavior. Another theory focuses on something we often overlook: your sense of smell. Even when you don't realize it, your brain is constantly collecting chemical information from the people around you. When two people stand very close together, they exchange tiny amounts of scent carried in the air. Some scientists think this may help people unconsciously assess health, compatibility, or familiarity. Research has explored whether certain genetic differences, particularly in parts of the immune system known as the major histocompatibility complex, MHC, might influence scent preferences in some situations. The findings are intriguing, but they are also mixed. Human attraction is influenced by many factors, and no single biological explanation tells the whole story. Our closest relatives offer more clues. Chimpanzees and bonobos sometimes touch mouths during social interactions. These behaviors can appear during reconciliation, reassurance, or social bonding. They are not the same as human romantic kissing, but they remind us of something important. Using the face to strengthen social relationships did not begin with modern civilization. Humans inherited many social behaviors from much older evolutionary roots. Then, over time, culture reshaped them into something new. As human societies grew more complex, so did relationships. Partnerships lasted longer. Families became larger. Communities depended more on trust and cooperation. Expressions of affection became increasingly meaningful. A simple gesture could communicate comfort, commitment, forgiveness, or reunion. Whether kissing began as caregiving, scent assessment, social bonding, or through several pathways at once, one thing is clear. It became more than a physical act. It became a way to express emotions that words alone often cannot. By the time the first cities appeared, kissing had already become part of human life in some cultures. But not all, and that's where the story becomes even more surprising. Because if kissing were a universal human instinct, why have some societies lived for centuries without romantic kissing at all? If kissing were written into human biology, you might expect every society on Earth to do it. After all, every culture eats, every culture sleeps, every culture forms families. So surely, every culture kisses, right? Surprisingly, no. For much of the 20th century, many researchers assumed romantic kissing was nearly universal. But as anthropologists documented more societies around the world, they found a far more complex picture. Some communities greeted loved ones with a kiss. Others embraced. Some touched foreheads. Some rubbed noses. Others showed affection through shared meals, songs, or quiet physical closeness. In other words, love was universal. The way people expressed it was not. This discovery changed an important assumption. Perhaps kissing isn't a behavior that every human automatically develops. Perhaps it's something that biology makes possible, while culture decides whether it becomes common. Think about language. Every healthy human child has the capacity to learn language, but no one is born speaking English, Arabic, or Japanese. Culture fills in the details. Some anthropologists think kissing may work in a similar way. Humans have the emotional capacity for close physical affection. Different societies simply express that affection in different forms. History also shows that customs rarely stay in one place. Trade routes carried more than silk and spices. They carried ideas, religions, music, food, and everyday habits. As civilizations met through commerce, migration, and conquest, people borrowed practices from one another. Some customs spread quickly, others remained local. Kissing may have followed that same pattern in many regions of the world. Religion added another layer. In different traditions, kisses marked different kinds of relationships. A kiss could symbolize respect, peace, family, friendship, or devotion. The meaning depended on the culture. The gesture remained similar, its purpose changed. That flexibility may explain why kissing has survived for thousands of years. It isn't tied to one emotion. It can express many. Modern science adds another perspective. When people share a consensual, affectionate kiss, the brain activates networks involved in emotion, memory, and reward. Hormones such as oxytocin may support feelings of closeness, while dopamine is associated with motivation and reward. These responses don't prove why kissing first appeared, but they help explain why. Once the behavior became established in some societies, it could become emotionally significant. The brain doesn't just remember important events, it remembers how those events made us feel. So perhaps the better question isn't, who invented kissing? Maybe it's, why did so many different societies find meaningful ways to express closeness? For some, that answer became a kiss. For others, it became another tradition entirely. Either way, the goal was remarkably similar, to strengthen human connection, because long before technology, long before cities reached into the sky, human survival depended on relationships, and relationships needed trust. Today, a kiss can last only a second, yet it can carry an apology, a promise, a farewell, or the beginning of an entirely new chapter in someone's life. Very few human gestures communicate so much, with so little. History has a strange habit. Sometimes, the smallest human actions become the most powerful symbols. A kiss is one of them. At first, it may have been a practical act, a way to comfort, to bond, or simply to express closeness. But as civilizations grew, so did the meaning behind it. In ancient Rome, not every kiss meant the same thing. People even had different words for different kinds of kisses. One expressed affection between family members, another represented romantic love, a third could seal a political agreement or show respect. The gesture looked similar. Its meaning depended entirely on context. That idea still exists today. A kiss between two parents and their child carries a completely different message than a kiss between two partners. The action hasn't changed. The meaning has. As societies became larger, trust became more important. People needed ways to communicate loyalty, respect, forgiveness, and commitment. A handshake became one signal, a bow became another. In many cultures, a kiss joined that list, not because it was biologically required, but because humans are experts at giving ordinary actions extraordinary meaning. Art and literature helped spread those meanings. Ancient poets described kisses as symbols of longing, painters captured them as moments of reunion, novelists used them to mark turning points in a relationship. By the modern era, cinema transformed the kiss again. Without a single line of dialogue, a kiss could tell an audience that two characters had fallen in love, made peace, or said goodbye forever. One gesture, countless meanings. Today, a kiss is recognized almost everywhere, but its rules still vary. Some cultures greet friends with a kiss on the cheek. Others reserve kissing only for close family or romantic partners. Some avoid public displays of affection altogether. Culture continues shaping one of humanity's oldest expressions of closeness. So perhaps the question was never simply, why did humans start kissing? A better question might be, why do humans keep giving new meanings to the same gesture? Because that may be one of our species' greatest abilities. We don't just create tools, we create symbols. And once a symbol becomes part of culture, it can survive for thousands of years. Imagine time slowing down. Two people lean toward each other. Their eyes begin to close. Their breathing changes. For just a few seconds, the rest of the world seems to disappear. It feels effortless, almost automatic. But inside the human body, those few seconds trigger one of the most complex biological events in everyday life. A kiss isn't just an emotional moment, it's a conversation between billions of nerve cells. Long before your lips meet, your brain is already making predictions. It recognizes facial expressions, body language, distance, eye contact, the emotional context of the moment. Within fractions of a second, different regions of the brain work together to decide whether the interaction feels safe, welcome, awkward, or exciting. Only after those signals align does the moment unfold. Then comes touch. Human lips are extraordinary. Compared with many other parts of the body, they contain an exceptionally high density of sensory nerve endings. That sensitivity allows the brain to detect tiny differences in pressure, temperature, and movement. Even a gentle kiss sends a remarkable amount of information through the nervous system. In many ways, your lips are one of your brain's most sophisticated sensors. As the moment continues, chemical messengers begin to influence how you feel. One of them is dopamine. Dopamine plays an important role in motivation and reward. It doesn't simply create pleasure, it helps the brain recognize experiences worth remembering and repeating. That's one reason emotionally meaningful moments can stay with us for years. Another important chemical is oxytocin. Often called the bonding hormone, oxytocin is associated with trust and social connection. Its effects vary from person to person and depend heavily on context, but research suggests it can contribute to feelings of closeness between people who already share a positive relationship. The kiss itself doesn't magically create love. Instead, it can strengthen emotional bonds that are already forming. At the same time, the brain is processing countless details you never consciously notice: the sound of another person's breathing, the warmth of their skin, the rhythm of their movements, even subtle scents carried through the air. Together, these signals help shape how the experience is remembered. Scientists have also explored another fascinating idea. Could kissing help people evaluate compatibility? Some studies suggest humans may unconsciously respond to biological cues, including scent, that provide information about another person's health or immune system. Researchers have investigated the role of genes involved in the major histocompatibility complex, or MHC, because these genes influence aspects of body odor. The evidence is still evolving, and attraction is far too complex to be explained by genetics alone. But it reminds us of something important. What feels like a simple emotional moment may involve layers of unconscious perception. Not every kiss feels the same. A first kiss, a goodbye kiss, a kiss after years apart, a kiss between a parent and child. The physical action may look similar, but the brain responds differently because memory changes everything. Our experiences shape how we interpret each new moment. That's why one kiss can feel unforgettable, while another becomes just another memory. Perhaps the most remarkable part isn't the chemistry, it's what the chemistry allows us to do. Humans have turned a brief physical gesture into something capable of expressing love, forgiveness, gratitude, comfort, hope, and farewell. Very few actions carry so many meanings. So the next time you see two people kiss, remember, you're not just witnessing affection, you're witnessing millions of years of evolution, thousands of years of culture, and a human brain performing one of the most sophisticated social interactions it knows how to create. History often remembers the biggest moments: the rise of civilizations, the discovery of fire, the invention of writing, the journey to the moon. But sometimes, the smallest human behaviors tell the greatest stories. A kiss is one of them. It leaves no fossil, no monument, no ancient machine, and yet, for thousands of years, it has quietly survived wars, migrations, pandemics, revolutions, and the rise and fall of entire civilizations. Not because it's necessary for survival, but because humans have always searched for ways to express what words cannot. Think about the most important moments in life: the birth of a child, a reunion after years apart, a wedding, a farewell before a long journey, the final goodbye to someone you love. Across different cultures, these moments are marked by rituals. Sometimes it's a handshake, sometimes an embrace, sometimes a bow, and sometimes a kiss. The gesture changes, the purpose remains the same. Humans need symbols. We don't simply experience emotions, we give them form. That may be one of the defining characteristics of our species. A bird builds a nest, a beaver builds a dam. Humans build meaning. We transform ordinary actions into traditions. We attach memories to places, we assign value to objects, and we create rituals that outlive the people who first performed them. A kiss is more than two people touching lips. It's a symbol shaped by countless generations. Every culture that embraced it gave it a new meaning. Every generation redefined it. Yet somehow, it remained recognizable. Perhaps that's why historians struggle to answer a single question: who invented kissing? Maybe no one did. Maybe it wasn't one invention at all. Maybe it emerged gradually, as human relationships became more complex, as trust became more valuable, and as communities searched for new ways to express closeness. History isn't always a straight line. Sometimes, it's thousands of small decisions repeated over thousands of years. Modern life has changed almost everything. We can speak instantly across continents. We can send photographs around the world in seconds. Artificial intelligence can write. Robots can build. Technology continues to reshape how we live. But despite all of that, the need for genuine human connection hasn't disappeared. If anything, it has become even more important, because no invention has replaced the feeling of being understood. No algorithm has replaced trust, and no screen has completely replaced the comfort of another person's presence. The story of kissing isn't really about romance. It's about connection. It's about how humans communicate without language. How we build families, friendships, communities, and civilizations. Every great society in history depended on cooperation. Cooperation depended on trust, and trust was built through countless small interactions repeated over time. A kiss became one of those interactions, not because it was the only way, but because, in many cultures, it became one of the most powerful. So, why has such a small gesture survived for thousands of years? Perhaps because it represents something far bigger than itself. It reminds us that being human isn't defined only by intelligence, or technology, or strength. It's defined by our ability to connect, to care, to comfort, to celebrate, and to say goodbye. Sometimes, without speaking a single word, the next time you see a kiss in a movie, at an airport, at a wedding, or between a parent and child, remember that you're witnessing more than a simple gesture. You're seeing a tradition shaped by biology, refined by culture, and carried across generations. A quiet reminder that even the smallest actions can become part of humanity's greatest story. Because history isn't only found in ancient ruins or forgotten manuscripts. Sometimes, history lives in the moments we repeat every day, without ever stopping to ask why. The smallest human habits often hide the biggest stories. If you enjoyed this documentary, subscribe for more explorations into the hidden history, psychology, and evolution of everyday life.